Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. And of course, I want to say Shalom to Yakanakwath out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And this is the part 2 of respect through obedience. Now, the other edition was put up yesterday. Looks like it got a couple of views. But this is the first part right here. In case you haven't seen it, go and check it out. This one was 40 minutes. This one, I'm aiming right around 15 minutes, maybe 20. We'll see what's going on. And then that'll finish it up. Yesterday we did 3, planned scriptures, ones that I had planned for the lesson. But we got a lot of free-flowed ones, right? Freestyle scriptures that just came through us through the Spirit. So we'll see how this one goes. Like I said, I got these 3 that we're going to start up with, and we'll see where it goes from there. So the first one is John 14 and 23. And again, if you're not, the lesson title pretty much gives it away, but if you're not too familiar with what's going on or what's been said, of course, go and watch the first one first. So again, as we were talking about, is respect through obedience, okay? The law is not something that we keep to receive salvation. It's something that we keep to be on a right standing, okay? It's something that we're supposed to do. And I always bring it up. I'll bring it up again. It's like stealing a soda, all right? If you steal a soda or a water or whatever you want, whatever it is, you will get in trouble for it. But if you buy a soda, no one's gonna, oh my gosh, look, he bought the soda, woohoo, and dap you up and, give you $5 and, make you a custom shirt that says, I bought the soda, and they're not gonna do that, all right? But you will get in trouble for breaking it, okay? And that's where a lot of people don't understand what's the point of even keeping the law, all right? If we're not gonna be saved through it, if I'm not saved through my actions, and we know that's the case, because we can go and get this. Ephesians, didn't mean to whack the mic. Ephesians 2 and 8 through 9, it says, for by grace are ye saved through faith. Right there tells you how we're saved. All right, by grace. Okay, we're saved by the grace and the mercies of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Not something we do, nothing. All right, it's through faith. Okay, it says, and that not of yourselves. Nothing that we do affects if we get saved or not. All right, at the end of the day. It says, it is the gift of Yahweh. Okay, it's his gift. Okay, we can't say, look, Lord, look, I did all these things. You got to save me now. No, that's not how it works, okay? It says, not of works, lest any man, I got to fix that setting. Not of works, lest any man should boast. Not of works, not of things that you've done, okay? Now, people get it confused because there's another scripture that says faith without works is dead. But again, there's a bigger picture, okay? There's a bigger picture. It goes, we keep the law, all right, as a part of obedience, and through that obedience, we are showing respect through Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai by rehearsing the righteous acts. It's not that we're expecting salvation from it. It's that's what we should be doing if we're trying to be in good standing, all right, with the Lord. Again, not that we're necessarily going to get saved. It's just something that the Lord prefers us to keep the law, and we respect the law because he made the law, he set up the law, and it was for our sake, as we got yesterday. Then we should rehearse that righteous act to show that we respect him. Where's another one? We'll get John 14 and 23, and then we'll cycle back. So, John 14 and 23, because if you love the Lord, what are you going to do? Well, another scripture that's more familiar is it's worded, it's, John 14 and 23, it's kind of similar to the same thing. It's, John 14 and 15, right? Which is, if ye love me, keep my commandments. So do you love the Lord? All right. Well, if you did, you'd be keeping his commandments, at least to the best of your ability, because we're in this sinful flesh. We can't keep it perfectly. But jumping down to John 14 and 23, it reads, Yahushua answered and said unto him, if a man love me, or a woman, right? It's man, as if a man love me. All right, it goes for women as well. You know, if you love the Lord, you're gonna, you know, to do the will as well. All right, well, do the will, do the keep the law. All right, to the best of your ability. All right, and do what the Lord would want done of you. Okay, it says, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. So there you go. Let's break this down. Let's get this in all English translations, see what it has to say. Actually, you know, we don't even have to do that because I have the ones that I like to get it from anyway. NLT says, Yahushua replied, all who love me will do what I say. That's the thing. It's about obedience. Okay. All those, and that's showing respect. He's saying all those who love me, those who actually love me, they're going to do what I say. Right? That's respect through obedience. It says, all who love me will do what I say. My Father will love them, and we will come and make our home with each of them. Ant Bible says, if anyone really loves me, I like that they added really. If anyone really loves me, he will keep my word, teachings. Okay? Teachings, the laws, as you read the Bible and you learn about the Bible, you'll understand what the Lord would want of us and would not want of us. All right, now we do fall short. All right, because we're in this flesh, and that's not really an excuse to do whatever you want, but we're not going to be perfect either. Okay, so that's why you have groups I mentioned yesterday, IUIC, the laws, the statutes, the commandments. The laws and the statutes and the commandments, they are important. All right, and we should keep them to the best of our ability, show respect through obedience. But at the end of the day, we can't keep them perfectly because we know that let's go and get it. Let's prove that. I spelled offend wrong. I forgot the other F. This is James 2:10. This shows you that it's going to be impossible. One, if we were saved through works, we'd all be fucked. All right, for lack of a better word. Right, and he said the F word. Well, that's not a law, all right? And anyway, we've said it a million times. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. If you're a Christian, just get off the page, because this is a Hebrew Israelite channel, not a Christian page. So James 2:10, it says, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. So this is why if we were saved through, keeping the law, we'd be fucked, man. We'd be screwed. We'd be out. We'd be asked out, okay, because we kept the whole law, but we messed up at one point. We're guilty of everything. All right. That means if you, for example, all right, a sin is a foolish thought. All right. I'm trying to remember the scripture that, right here. Proverbs 24:9. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. So the thought of foolishness is sin. So having a foolish thought, that's a sin. You done sinned. Okay? Right here. Let's see. It says the devising of folly and the scoffers repulse men. But the thought of foolishness is sin. All right? The thought of even, doing something. I'd like to go over there and, I'd like to do this to him. Right? Or I'd like to go over to see if I did this. It's all, that's technically a foolish thought. And we all have those. All right? And we got to rebuke those thoughts. But once we've had them, what's done is done. The sin's already been made. Okay, so if you think about that, here's an example. Now, the Lord understands the difference. Well, the Lord has a difference. Of course, He understands all things, but the Lord has, He understands when there's a difference between. I'm trying to find my words. There's a difference between premeditated sin, right, and sin that you didn't mean necessarily to commit, things that you didn't necessarily know. For example, every man's had this happen to him at one point. You see a girl and she looks, fine, she looks bad, and you're looking at her, and she's by herself, right, and she's dressing like she's a single woman. Not that even a single woman should be dressing like that. Promiscuous. She's dressing and holding herself with a level of promiscuity. And, you're looking at her because she's got all her bits on display. And then from out of an aisle comes her simple-ass husband that let her come out that way. All right, that's another. You men shouldn't be letting your women come out that way. Okay? You should have, first of all, your women should be checking in with you. All right? A decent woman's going to be checking in with you. Okay? That's how again, my wife's in this truth. She'll ask me, she says, is this outfit fine? I'm like, I probably wouldn't, or I'd wear something over on top of it if you're going to do it that way. And she doesn't, buck up or complain. Oh, fuck you. Now you're trying to keep me. No. All right, because she also doesn't want to go out looking like that, because she understands basically, you don't want to go out looking like a cheap whore. Okay, a woman that has integrity and actually respects herself, she's not going to go out looking like a fucking whore with her titties out and her ass popping out from the bottom of their jeans. Okay, you look like a whore. Well, men look. Yeah, of course men are going to look. Okay, yeah, people like me are going to look. All right, why? All right, again, you shouldn't be going out like that, but as a man, we're going to look, you're going to catch the eye. Okay, you're going to catch the eye. It's like, for example, well, that's kind of hypocritical. It's not hypocritical. A woman should not be out like that. All right. And by all means, being out in public like that is disgusting. But that doesn't mean we're like homosexuals, like, ugh, a woman's body, disgusting. All right. But it shouldn't be done in public. All right. Time and place for everything. It's like, for example, if you're strolling through a neighborhood and you smell barbecue, it's going to catch your attention. Right? You're like, huh, that smells good, right? You're gonna, it's gonna catch your attention. When you have a woman that's doing that, again, that's a look for the bedroom or at home, but it shouldn't be happening outside. But even though it's happening outside, the male gaze is gonna see it, right? Again, it's like throwing down a piece of steak and say, don't look at it. How? Right? How? Right? It's there, I see it, right? And then they get all mad because you look. Well, stupid. It's stupid, man. It's stupid. You know what the thing is? Women have even admit they look, and not in a sexual way, but think about it, man. If anybody would look. Like, that's like if I went into a supermarket, pulled my dick out, was like, why are you looking? Why are you looking? All right, when all the ladies are looking around, why are you looking? Why are you looking? Because it's off-putting, man. It's out of place. It's out of order, right? And you see, what the fuck? You know? And, even someone who's not a homosexual, if I went into a store, all right, and I see someone do, and it looks like someone's running around with their dick out, I'm not gay, but I'm going to take a double look. What the fuck was that? That motherfucker just walking around with his dick. What the fuck is going on, man? Right? Not that I'm wanting to see it. Let me go see it. Let me go get a look. No, but it's gonna catch you off guard. It's like, what? Wait a minute. Did I just see what the fuck I saw? What the fuck? No, it's like, for example, something that makes you do a double take. Sometimes these women, I see it with these black women especially, so-called black women, they wear these like leggings that are flesh color. Sometimes it happens with white girls. I mostly see it with Latinas and so-called black women. And you walking by them, and it's not that they're necessarily even attractive. You're just walking by them, and then you're like, what, did that bitch have on pants? What the fuck? And you look back, oh, okay, it was flesh tone. It was flesh tone, joggers or short, or not shorts, but or sometimes even shorts, flesh tone shorts. And for a minute you think they're walking around butt ass naked. You're like, what the fuck, are they butt ass naked? But no, then you're like, oh, but they're wearing flesh colored pants, so it looks like they're not wearing any pants at all, right? It's off-putting. It's something that's jarring to the mind, so you look at it, right? But anyway, getting back to it, when you see a woman that's dressed like that, and all of a sudden her simple ass husband let her walk out like that, you feel bad. You're like, oh shit, I didn't know she had a man. Right? Because you don't even know these days, At one point, a married woman used to hold herself with some level of integrity. Not anymore. Not anymore at all, man. They just walk around looking like a $2 whore. Hell, $1, hell, 2-cent whore. Disgusting. Looking ridiculous. But, so now you see, you're like, oh, hell. But technically, that was a sin. Okay? It was still already done. Right? I'm like, oh, damn, she got a fat ass. You're not supposed to look at another man's woman like that. But you didn't know. But what's done was done. All right. So you still, you have to apologize. Sorry, Lord, I didn't know that happened. All right. Please forgive me. Right. But say you found at that one point, you did that. Well, guess what? You're guilty of all. Or here's another one that people don't like to talk about. What about a garment of diverse sorts? All right. Of diverse fabrics. All right. You're not supposed to be wearing one of, cotton and wool. All right. And mixed together. Okay. And if you do, that's a sin, because you're not supposed to do that. So you offended, you're guilty of all. Guilty of all. What? Let's go and read that. What? Guilty of what? Look, NLT. For a person who keeps all the laws except one is as guilty as a person who has broke all of Yahweh's laws. So just wearing a garment mixed with a garment of mixed fabrics, you're as guilty as a homosexual murderer, someone like Jeffrey Dahmer. You're just as guilty, right? Because the whole thing was do not break the laws, all right? And Jeffrey Dahmer, all right, again, he was an Edomite, more than likely, but he broke the laws, okay? He broke the laws. So that was what was his point? Well, murder and homosexuality, At the root, what did he do? Well, he sinned. Gotcha. If you were diverse, garment of diverse fabric, what was your root sin? It's not what you did. What was the root? What was not the root sin? What was the root? Well, it was sin. Okay, what did Jeffrey Dahmer do? Sin. What did you do? Sin. All right, it's the same thing. You're guilty. Okay, you're the same. You're the same. All right, you are as guilty as the person who's broken all the Lord's laws. Why? Because you sinned. That was what happened. Sin happened. What Jeffrey Dahmer did, sin happened. Technically, it's not sin if you really want to get down to it, because only Israel can sin, because sin is the transgression of the law, and the law was only given to Israel. But you'll hear people talk about sin. The fact of the matter is, what he did with sin, it might not necessarily be sin unto him, but it's wickedness unto him. He did wickedness because he's an Edomite, and that's what they do. But the root of what he did was sin. It was a sinful thing. If we as Israelites were to do it, it was sin. Okay, so it's guilty as someone who's broken all law. You know, even if I just know, it's not. You know, you can't minutize. All right, is that even a word? No, minutize would be to record. You know, what I mean is like minutize as in making something small. Miniaturize or minimize. All right, that would be, you can't minimize it down to, oh, you know, it's a lesser sin. No, nope, sin is sin at the end of the day. All right, and yes, there are certain sins that are in turn, you know, bigger. For example, you having a foolish thought is a little bit different than going out and, you know, popping another man in the ass. Yeah, that's completely out of order. But at the end of the day, there's levels of extremity. All right, but at the end of the day, sin is sin. Okay, there's sin is sin, and it's sin. That's the root thing. At the end of the day, it's sin. Transgress the law. You transgress the law. No matter what the individual did, it was transgressing the law. It might have been something extreme. It might have been something not so extreme as to that. Certain things that the Lord can, you can repent for. There's certain things you really can't come back from. I mean, if you're in this truth and you go, I just had to go pop a man in his ass real quick. No, man. You got a deeper rooted issue at that point. Okay, you got a deeper rooted issue, and that's something you really can't just repent away at that point. All right, because you knew, okay, you knew you shouldn't have been doing that. So, where do we want to go from here? I got two more. So let me see. We're gonna get Psalm 19 and 7. Right? And this shows you the importance of it as well. It shows you the importance of the law. Because again, like we got yesterday, I can't remember the scripture. It might have been, I don't remember. It was either 1 John 5 and 3, Psalm 40 and 8, or Deuteronomy 5 and 33, where it mentioned, that therefore they're beneficial unto us. Let me go see. Which one was it? But yeah, anyway, going back to this, if we, in just what we finished reading, if we were to be saved by the law, we'd be completely screwed because we've all fallen short. Okay, but at the end of the day, just because we're saved by grace, that doesn't mean we can just do whatever we want. All right, it's like that scripture that says, what then? Shall we sin? It's not Ephesians, is it? It's Romans, yeah. Romans 6 and 15, it says, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under but under grace? Yahweh forbid. All right. 14, we got to get it. I always say, you got to read the 15th verse. All right. Romans 6 and 14, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. Well, see, we're not under the law, though, brother. Well, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? Yahweh forbid. So that means we can't just do whatever we want. But anyway, let me see. Which one was it? It was 1 John 5 and 3, maybe? Nope. Maybe it was Psalm 40, think it was Psalm 40 and 8. No, guess it wasn't. Deuteronomy 5 and 33? No, maybe it was one that I might have been one that was a free flow, that came through the Spirit. Yeah, it was in one of them. But I guess it wasn't in one of the ones that we written down. But yeah, I mean, it's in the first lesson, right? So if you want to, you can go and watch the first one if you haven't. But let's finish up Psalm 19:7. Psalm 19:7, it says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. So it converts your soul. Well, it should, right? So it says, the testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. So he can turn a dumbass into an intellectual, okay? And let's see if we can get it in another translation, because the NLT doesn't really mention what simple is, because simple means stupid, like a moron. See, none of them get it. Now, if we go and get what simple means, simple definition. Okay, simple. And it should be the archaic or offensive, right? The offensive version. Right here, look. Lacking in intelligence, stupid. Okay, stupid. Okay, and that's the old, actually, matter of fact, if we go to the Johnson's dictionary, it should say it in here. If I could type it correctly. Right here, look. Plain, artless, unskilled, undesigning, sincere, harmless. It's not sincere or harmless. It's just literally dumb. Silly, not wise, not cunning. Let's see. Simple. That's for a ingredient. Yeah, so it'd be more, it's older, so, it's silly, right? No, but it really meant stupid or unskilled. All right, someone who's unskilled, undesigned, they're artless, right? They're dumb. Okay, they're dumb. So, a matter of fact, if we go and get it, I wonder what the Blue Letter Bible says. Oops, let me open it up in a different tab. Let's see. It says, it's simple. It goes back to the word pathi. All right, pathi, foolish. All right, foolish, open-minded. Okay, which shows you that open-mindedness is also foolish. You hear the Apostles and Elders of Great Millstone mentioning that. All right, again, not in GMS, but that's who I learned from. Recommend you do the same, or those that at least teach in the same, teach on the same waveform. There, that's one I'll say. So, building up the house of David. It says foolish, open-minded. So it shows you that foolish and open-minded are one of the same, right? One of the same. So, foolish, a fool, all right? A moron, an idiot, a dolt, all right? A dullard, a dummy, all right? A moron, a retard, or whatever you want to say, right? And some of those words aren't so politically correct anymore, all right? Not societally correct, all right? They don't like you to say those things, but those are all the words, right? The law of the Lord is perfect, which means there's not any flaws or faults in it, right? It says there's not anything in it that's unrighteous, okay? It says converting the soul. So converting the soul. I like what the NLT says here. The NLT has reviving the soul. It also has that in the NRSV. Over in the Amp Bible, it says restoring and refreshing the soul. And that's really what it is. It's a refresh. It's a renewing. Okay, we can go and get that. Let's go and jump over to that. Renew. Let's see. I'm still on Psalms 19:7. But Romans 12:2, it says, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Right? So renewing of your mind. Going back to Psalm 19:7, it says converting the soul, or if you get in the Amp Bible, it says restoring and refreshing the soul. So really it's a renewing. Okay? It's a renewing. It says, so by the renewing of your mind that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh. And most of us should know this scripture, Romans 2:12. right? That's a big one, all right, because that's something that we're supposed to be doing, by being transformed by the renewing of our mind. And that renewing process comes from Yahweh Shem Shai, not of ourselves. Again, as part of, it's a gift from the Lord. So it says, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, all right? It's, like, let's see if we can, is sure. Can we get it simpler than that? Reliable. Well, really, sure means fact. Okay, the testimony of the Lord is fact. Okay, they say the decrees of the Lord are trustworthy. That's good as well. But really, the testimony of the Lord is sure. It's fact. All right, the proof is in the pudding. It's fact. It's for sure. Okay, like it says, the decrees of the Lord are sure, which means certain. All right, for sure. Fact means fact. It says making wise the simple. Okay, making wise the simple. As a matter of fact, I want to see this in all translations. Well, I can actually do it this way. Because I want to see if any of them actually gets that word simple correct. Right here, the CSB says making the inexperienced wise. That's good. Makes gullible people wise. That one's good. Let's see. Making wise the simple. Making wise the simple. No, it doesn't actually, of course it doesn't want to be, a lot of the translations don't want to be harsh and actually say, making smart the stupid. Okay, but that's really what's talking about, making smart the stupid. So, that is, we got one more, and then we're going to close out. and 16. So this is Psalm 119 and 16. It says, I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word. And that's the closing point. This is not something that's supposed to be grievous unto us. It's not something, I got to keep the law. Or, you got a lot of people that try to find ways around the law. Like one of the examples that always comes to mind with me and my wife were actually just talking about it the other day. The instance with Elder Manata Zatba, where he had that guy that was saying, he told Elder Manata Zatba, he said, I don't eat a pepperoni pizza, I just order the pepperoni pizza and take the pepperonis off. That's ridiculous. Okay, you're trying to find a way around it, right? And then, like the Elder Manata Zatba said, he said, "Look, Jake, I can't remember what he exactly said. He said, but I think he specifically said, you trying to eat a pork sauce pizza, right? Because you like the flavor that the pork gives the pizza. That's what you're doing, all right? You could just eat a goddamn cheese pizza." But you had to go and instead of getting a cheese pizza, you had to get the pepperoni on it and then take the pepperoni. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I'd just order a cheese pizza at that point. Why? If that's what I want, all right, I don't want the pork on it. Then why? Say you don't want a cheese pizza, get a chicken pizza. You can get a chicken pizza just fine. All right, you can get you can get anything other than plain cheese. You can get olives on it. You can go and get there's many things you can get on it. Shit, you can get what do they call those pizzas? Margarita pizzas, I think. Or they have another one. They have the, I almost said avocado, artichoke on them. They got artichoke and some, what are those pizzas called? I think it's margarita. Are they called margarita pizzas? Or is margarita pizza something different? What is it? What did I just call it? What was it? Margarita. I guess it's kind of just, it's basically a cheese pizza with some extra shit. It's San Marzano tomato sauce, fresh mozzarella, fresh basil, and extra virgin olive oil. But again, you can have it, right? Because it doesn't have any unclean things in it, at least that we know of. Yeah, and it's also, it usually has, fresh mozzarella. Yeah, some of it has like that. This is like, what's that? That feta. They usually put some like feta on it too. But no, I don't know what they call a pizza with artichoke. That's my favorite type of pizza. I remember there was one in Arizona. There was one called. It was called an Elton John pizza. Yeah, Bill's Pizza. There's a joint Bill's Pizza. They have a couple places, but you can see it. This is their Elton John. All right, and it's got artichoke, some type of like that might be like a type of feta, spinach, tomato pieces. I don't know if there's some other stuff on it. I can't really tell, but man, the Elton John pizza is hella good, man. It's good. It's really good. I don't know why they call it that, but that's what they call it. Palm Springs and Palm Desert, California. So there you go. Oh, here it is. Garlic infused olive oil with white sauce, artichoke hearts, fresh tomatoes, cooked spinach, red onions, 4 cheese blend with feta cheese and sauerkraut dust. It's good. All right, it's good. So that's the best way to have one, I think, personally. But no, Jake had to go and get see now I'm hungry. Jake had to go and get the pork on it specifically. For why, man? Why? See, you're trying to find a way around it. That's not delighting in the statutes. All right, that's not delighting in them. That's hating them and trying to find a way around it. I didn't mean to hit that. Let's go and break it down easier. We need it easier than that. Psalms 119:16 again, the King James Version says, "I will delight myself in thy statutes. I will not forget thy word." There's no way that they're all the same. Huh. The ERV. I enjoy your laws. I will not forget your word. There you go. EXB. I enjoy obeying your demands, your statutes, ordinances, and requirements. I will not forget your word. The GW. It says, your laws make me happy. I never forget your word. GNT. There we go. I take pleasure in your laws. Your commands I will not forget. There you go. We take pleasure in the window. Oh, I hate. Oh, man. Dang. Right? We might have the dang when we see something that looks good and then we can't have it. But it ain't like, dang, this law's holding me back. It's more like, man, they fucked this up. All right, by putting that in there. Well then. Guess I won't have it. And we move on. Right? It's not the law. It's the food item that upsets us, So, or we might see something on a menu, like, oh man, that looks good. What is that? Man, they got, oh man, it's a bun. It's a bun that they put pork in. God damn it, they couldn't have just. Is there a way I can get that without that? No, unfortunately, all right. God damn it, because we don't want it that way. We just wanted it in a clean way. Okay. So we don't walk by the fridge of like there's certain things that I'd like to try, but not in the capacity it is, like Shopa. All right, Shopa. How is it? I can't remember. It's here it is, Shopa. All right, but asado, pork, bola, meatball, which is usually made of pork. But but they say or chicken. All the places I went to, they didn't have the chicken. But I mean, look, these look delicious. Look at these dumplings. The ones that these don't even look anything like the dumplings I saw here. How did they spell it? That's closer. All right. Chowking. There they are. See, the ones that they have at Chowking, they're crazy looking. All right. They look big, and the dumplings, and they look good, but they unfortunately do not make a chicken one. But maybe I'll order one, and I'll take all the pork out of it, right? And I'll just eat the... Stupid, man. So that's not delighting in them. That's trying to find ways around them. But anyway, I'm just rambling now, so we're going to close out. But yeah, man, that's respect through obedience. And obedience is not doing something like that. And I'd give you another example, but I remember that example was just hilarious. It was just stupid. It was stupid, but it's so stupid it was hilarious because the apostle, the elder Menatazaba got on him. Said, "Look, Jake, what are you doing, man? You know, you over here, couldn't you, because it's true, man. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense at all. At all. There was times in the past that I have done that, but not in that capacity. For example, when I first came in the truth, I was living with some Edomites, and distant, quote unquote, they're more like family friends. Ones that you call family. Dated my uncle. The lady dated my uncle, and stuff like that. But I was living with them, some Edomites, quote unquote family, not really. And man, my rent was too high. I was getting hours cut. I didn't have nothing. And at the time, I had just stopped really fully eating pork like that anyway. Well, not fully, of course, because as the story goes. But they would only order pepperoni pizza because nobody ate the cheese. And I'm telling you, I literally did not have the money to go and get anything. At this time, my wife was actually giving me some money to get some food. And I remember, because every day what I would do is I'd pretty much eat McDonald's every day. This was like 2019. 2020, I'd pretty much eat McDonald's every single day because I would go down, and this is when they actually had a real dollar menu before those went away. It was like the last hurrah. I'd get a McChicken, and I'd get a sometimes just a McChicken, but usually I'd get two items. I'd get a McChicken, and then I'd get a McDouble. All right, and I'd put them together usually, or I'd eat them side by side. I started eating them together. They call it a McGangbang, and they're good. I don't eat them anymore, but I liked them back then. With extra mayo, extra pickle, right? That was my custom order. I'd get a McChicken, a McDouble, extra, and one of them you'd only need the extra mayo. And when I said extra mayo, usually I'd get it on the McChicken. I'd said extra mayo, extra pickle, and then you just go ahead and you slap including the bun, all right? But you stage the bun, so it should be bun, all right? Bun, chicken patty. Right, bun, because it's McDouble, you get two patties, so it would be bun, chicken patty, bun, beef patty, bun, beef patty, bun. All right, and then you'd eat it like that, and you'd smash it down because it's big. It was good for $2, man. It would get you full, right? That would and then like I said at that time. I was working at a game store, and I think I've already said it was at a GameStop, and I would go over there and I'd have my my GameStop lanyard on or tag, or I'd be wearing a shirt that said GameStop or something on. I would go over there and the guys would talk to me about games and stuff, and I got to the point where they'd eventually start giving me free drinks. So, and then they had a rebate, I guess you could call it a rebate, on the coupon, where if you filled out and it was unlimited. Okay, and then on the app every Friday they had free Friday. So whatever you ordered, if you scanned that coupon, you'd get every single Friday. It was free Friday. Or they had other things where for like $3 you could go and get like a whole Big Mac or something. It'd be some crazy deal. Right? They stopped doing that eventually. But I mean, for people that were trying to survive at the time, man, that was your best bet, right, at that time. And because I was spending maybe $14 a week on food. You can't do much better than that, right? And like I said, the drink would cost more, but they started giving me free drinks, and then I'd do that rebate. So sometimes I'd either get a cookie, they had the 3 cookies, or I'd get a pie, or sometimes I'd just, get something, sometimes I'd get nuggets, all right, because I'd be able to get, I'd spend like the $2 or $3 on the nuggets, and then I'd be able to get the free burger or something, so, things like that. But anyway, getting back to the story, rambling on, that's how I was. And I mean, there was one time where my wife was like, "Here, get some money. Just go somewhere good." Because I was eating McDonald's. She's like, "Go to Subway." I'm like, "You get something for $7." I'm like, that's like half the week, or for $7. That's half the week. That's a half week's worth of food for me, man. But the rent raised, and I was in a bad spot, man. I had holes in my shoes. It was bad. I was bad. That was like rough, right? I was rough, and I remember they would order pepperoni pizzas, and I'd just take the pepperonis off and eat it. And I knew what I was doing wasn't optimal, all right, at the time. I didn't, but at the same time I needed to eat something. They didn't keep food in the house like that, right? Because none of them really fucking cook, right? So it was just that and like snack cakes and shit. So I had to eat something, and in that case, yeah, obviously the Lord knows in that, because again, we keep the law to the best of our abilities, all right, and the Lord knows what we're capable of and what we can do. In that case, the Lord's not gonna, oh, what you were trying to eat, oh, I hate you for it. No, because the Lord knew that I was in a rock and a hard place at that time. Okay, it's like the same thing. Like I was just talking to my wife. If you're on a deserted island, okay, and you truly sincerity, you looked, right, you went down, you tried to fish every day, but there was some crazy thing and the fish wasn't there. You couldn't find no fish, and you pray and there's still no fish because maybe there's no fish in that area, right? And you go and you try to look for something clean. You can't find nothing on the island. You're starving to death. You're starving, and you happen to see a wild boar come out, all right, and you're on the verge of starving to death. And of course you're praying. More than likely, the Lord will send you something somehow, or get you off that island. I mean, because if you're just sentenced to die, that's, the Lord's probably forgot about you. Know-how, right? But say if you had to kill that pig to survive because you're on the verge of death, right? That's where by grace ye saved through faith, and not of works, not of yourselves, all right? Because that's a situation that, oh Lord, oh, I can't believe, you just didn't, starve to death, right? No. The Lord understands the situation at the same time, right? More than like, and again, that's a one of those insane hypotheticals, because more than likely the Lord's going to send you something, berries or something, or someone's going to find you and get you off the island. But I'm saying in an extreme scenario of a what if, right? Because Jake always likes the what if. What if I had to, though? What if I was on the verge of death and that's the only thing I had, right? And if I didn't eat it, I was going to die. I'm like, well, first of all, you got to ask yourself, is staying here worth it that much? Right? Is it really, right? And then 2, if you did eat it, and Lord knows your intention, like, yeah, I'm glad they don't have no beef. I've been wanting to eat pork again. No, or if you're like, man, if I don't eat this, I am sincerely gonna die. The Lord can wink at that. The Lord knows that, look, that you were in a bad situation, and that's again another reason why we're not saved through the law. Okay? Because doing that is just as bad as you having a foolish thought. Does that mean that because we have foolish thoughts, you should go and eat pork, you should go and break the law? No. Again, it's respect through what? Obedience. Okay? Obedience to the best of our abilities. To the best of our abilities. And, Jake's going to get it. Those that are, the elect's going to get it. And those that don't get it, they don't get it. All right? That it's not an excuse to go willingly eat pork. It's not no. But in an insane scenario, which is almost not likely to ever occur, if it did happen and there was no fish and there was no clean bugs, right? Because certain things like beetles and locusts, there was no beetles, there was no locusts, right? There was no berries, all right? Then in that situation, well, could I do it? Yeah, all right. And then, yeah, you could do it and then, ask for forgiveness and hope, pray that, before I would even get to that far, I'd keep praying and praying and praying that the Lord sends me something clean that I can eat, right? Without, going off, all right? That's how I would do it. But again, what's the likelihood of you being in that scenario, Jake? What's the scenario? What's the likelihood? So that's the thing. Jake always wants to know of the extreme scenario. What if, man, how often are you stranded on a desert island or a deserted island? Because it doesn't happen to me very often. I don't know about you. right? So, but anyway, that's the lesson. We're going to close out there. Lord, what was edifying? Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh Shai, Shem Rakakwadash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. Remember, it's about showing respect through obedience. It's not that the law, keeping the law will save us, but breaking the law will get us killed. That's why we have repentance. Sometimes we're going to fall short. The Lord knows what we're capable of and what we're not capable of. Until next one, Lord willing, Shalom.